Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Abnormal Alabama, where Kevin, Kelsey, and Catherine, and that's not KKK, it's KKC, get together
It's
every
CKK. Get it right.
every every Tuesday night and talk about many weird and abnormal things. So, welcome to our show. Say hey, everybody.
Hey,
Uh,
everybody.
yeah, y'all share the links everywhere and so forth, and to we're going to go back about 20 years here, and I want you to look at this right there. Y'all recognize that balloon face? I mean, that mustache face?
Hey.
Uh,
Well, look at the old hot air balloon over there talking about my
Guess what we're going to see Friday?
we're gonna go film the balloon festival in Birmingham Friday evening.
Oh,
Ooh, they light up those big balloons and put them in the air.
I didn't know a
So,
thing about that.
well, you do now. You want to go with us?
Friday night, I don't know. Yeah, I don't
I
know.
know he got a hot date with some cosplay girl.
I'm
Yeah, let's stick
jealous.
with that. I got a hot date with an actress. There we go. Let's stick with that one.
That's it. Maybe an 8 by 10 glossy, but it's still a hot date.
Hey.
So, what do you people think? Do y'all believe in miracles? That's the big subject tonight. Kevin comes up with some neat subjects for us to talk about. And I don't know much, but I make up a lot of stuff as I go. And
Yeah, I
the
saw
bottom
some of
line,
them strange things you were sharing a few days ago.
so a miracle. Uh, let's take turns here, and we'll start with the theologian Kevin and get his definition of a miracle.
My definition of miracle.
How would you define miracle?
Well, I would say
Okay, so he don't
a
have an
gift,
answer, so
a gift from God. Now you didn't give me a chance to answer. You,
say a
I would
miracle.
say a gift from God.
Actually, I thought Kevin would say a miracle to him would be if I ever let him talk.
And that too, if I could ever get a word in.
All right, so your answer is a gift from God.
Yeah.
Catherine?
Mine's expecting the worst, but something good coming out of it.
Okay, y'all ready for mine?
Okay.
Yes.
A miracle is something that you can that happens, and we would. I think it's always pretty much expressed in a positive way, and it's always something that you can't explain it away. A Christian like Kevin would credit a miracle to God. Catherine, on the other hand, would probably say "Hail Satan," and
Yeah.
and I'll say I blame it on Hosgabahuhu. So, but basically, to me, a miracle is something that is like it's something that's extraordinary that happens that it can't be explained. The doctor can't explain why this happened, or it's just by all standards you look at it and say, "Wow," you know, something happened that kind of stands against nature itself. So everybody, I
Abnormal.
guess, abnormal. It's abnormal. Yeah, it's not. I mean, you take 100 people and they all get diagnosed with inflammatory carcinoma, and they all have stage 4 inflammatory carcinoma. And out of that 100 people, they're given 6 months to live. This is around the world. They don't all live together, but that's the standard. They give them 6 months to live, and one of them lives for 20 years afterwards. They would consider that a miracle because what they know about medical science is that if you reach stage 4 inflammatory carcinoma, you're going to die in 6 months at that point. So that would be a miracle.
Yeah.
And you've got a bunch of stories lined up, and I've got even I mean, some people say, and when I was a kid growing up in the church, we heard all kinds of stories from church people around the world, really, that would write in and they would talk about how something happened. It had to be angelic intervention. Something protected them from something, or some really wild things. Um, And there were some miraculous things that were negative too. Uh, I know that we were warned when I was a kid in church. We were warned about buying secondhand stuff from yard sales and from flea markets because you never knew who was a witch or what might be possessed by a negative entity. You know what I'm saying? So we
Mhm.
were actually warned about that. But, and in fact, females were warned about if they wanted to get a wig, it better be synthetic instead of human hair because you never know what human you got that hair from. You might be inheriting something evil. The miracle there, if you want to call it that, would be sometimes because we're human, someone would still end up with something that was very evil possessed in their possession. And there were wood items that they would. I never personally experienced it, but would hear these stories, and it ended up being an evil possession of this whatever it was. And they would take it in the backyard and try to burn it. It wouldn't burn. They'd throw it in the river, and it would come back. Have you heard of those kind of stories?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty prevalent back in the 60s and early 70s when I was a kid. But I think Kevin has some positive. Kevin always looks on the bright side of things all the time. So I'm sure that his miracle stories are all going to be with a positive punch. So when you hear his stories tonight, you'll be left feeling really good. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, well, I hope so.
And I've got a couple of interesting ones because I don't believe all miracles come from angels. In fact, I've got one where the miracle came from Bigfoot.
Say
Saved
what
a life. Bigfoot saved a life. That was a miracle. Don't scoff. Don't scoff. So Kevin, well, first of all, myhaunteddogs.com. Kevin, of course, has written all these wicked little book stories about possessed and evil things. And his books, if you notice, if you go through his books, they get darker and darker and darker as time goes on. But check him
Oh,
out,
no.
myhaunteddogs.com. And Kevin, why don't you start telling us some neat little miracle stories?
Well, I got one here I thought of. And thinking about miracles and wonders. There was something right here in Tuscaloosa, and I have actual video I can share this that was captured over in good old Tusca Crimson Tide Lusa. There
Crimson Tide.
was a
From his
Facebook
book.
stream. Yeah. There was a Facebook stream that actually captured what people believe is God walking in the clouds. Have you heard of this one yet or seen the video?
I've seen something similar, but I don't know if it's the same story, so go ahead. Do we have a picture of that up here? Did you share a picture of that?
Now I was going to show the actual. I got a good video of it.
Oh, let's have it.
Yeah.
Let's have it.
I'll read the story here. Nature can be fascinating, so it's no surprise that plenty of people grab their cameras when a storm is brewing. But what one person caught on camera as weather moved in over Tuscaloosa, Alabama, really gripped everyone's attention. Solo Dolo, and that's her name, Solo Dolo,
Okay, now you're getting Star
decided to live stream as clouds came in over the town. In the video, she says, "Hey, we got a storm over here. We got no power. Everything blowing over here, boxes and trees." She then points her camera to a bright hole in the clouds and states, "Look at that hole right in the sky. That's who's got the power." Later adding, "He got us covered at least. We're all right." Normally it wouldn't be a big deal, but when Solo's friend watched the clip, she pointed out a strange human-like shape that walked in the clouds. Many viewers claim that the figure is God. And I'm going to bring in, this even the biggest skeptic I know, my old man in there, he can't even explain this. He believes it too. And that's rare to get him to believe in the supernatural. You know, he preaches at me about my haunted dolls and stuff. But All right, let's
And
see
he
here.
buys you some. He
He hadn't
does.
really bought me any. All right, I'm gonna get the video up here. This is good. Let me get the mute off here. All right, I'm gonna play this one on YouTube. And then there's another one I think has a good close up of it. There we go. I got it up here now. Let me share it, and I guess you'll have to approve because it's going to put it down there in a little box. There it is. All right. Here we go. All right, and I got another one that gets in even closer with that zoom. So let me bring that up. All righty. Here we go. There's a still image of it. That looks like absolutely a human figure. And see how it just walks right behind the clouds. Now, I gotta tell you, that is amazing. That just leaves me in awe right there.
Well, I'm not.
What do you
I'm
think
not
of
gonna.
that?
Well, first of all, it is. It's very interesting, and I'm not going to sit there and say that it's not paranormal or something like that. But as I do with anybody that claims, oh, that's Jesus or all this God, my response is quite simple. How do you know what Jesus or God looks like? And so you're just making a huge leap. Is it a human-looking figure? Yes, but it could be the stick man.
A stick man.
Well, I mean,
Taking a
seriously,
stroll in the clouds.
absolutely. I mean,
I say
so
it's
no.
God.
Well, I mean, you can say what you want to. Nobody can stop you. It's a free
I
world. You can say it.
have
I have faith too, but I also have a brain.
Oh, here you
That
go.
God-given brain. So no, I'm not going to dispute the fact that that is a very human-like figure, and I certainly would not look at God in a human light. But I also know that no man sees God and lives, according to the Bible. Okay, that's number one. So it can't be God.
Well, none of us are gonna live forever.
But the second thing is like that's simply because it's in a cloud does not mean it could be Satan. Really could be. You can't deny it could be. So, but I'm not going to argue the fact that it certainly clearly looks human-like. I've seen that video before. I did not know it was from Tuscaloosa though.
Yeah, right here in our backyard. And
Yeah.
for anybody that wants to scream that that's CGI, nope, that was a live Facebook stream.
No, I'm not even suggesting that. You heard my argument, and that's the only argument I make. Is like, yep, human-like figure, very realistic, no argument. I'm not saying anybody faked anything. I'm just saying it's a big leap to say. And I noticed they put Jesus up there, and it's like you can't say that.
Well,
you can't say that. I mean, you can't prove it. Let's put it that way. You get, well, I've got faith in with Jesus, you know.
Wow.
But remember, the Bible also says
Yeah.
that Satan keeps presenting himself as an angel of light.
Yeah. And it
So,
also says, "Blessed is he who believes without seeing."
so
I
what do we
believe
need
not
to?
even seeing that.
There you go. That's the important part. There you go. You don't need
Yeah.
to see the stick man in the
I don't have.
clouds.
I thought you was going to say it was Hajima Hooga Booga Booga, whatever his name is.
I think it,
Woohoo.
I think it was a heavenly Bigfoot,
Heavenly Bigfoot. They should
angelic
go up there
Bigfoot,
and check those clouds for footprints.
angelic Bigfoot. And some people may remember this because it hasn't been that long ago, in 2019, almost just a few days over a year ago, that a 3-year-old by the name of Casey Hathaway was found by rescuers after 2 nights lost in the freezing cold woods of North Carolina. And of course, they wanted to know how in the heck did he survive in that freezing cold weather unscathed for 2 nights. And he said a bear helped him. Well, his auntie, Brianna Hathaway, posted on Facebook, Casey's healthy, smiling, and talking. He said he hung out with a bear for 2 days, that God sent him a friend to keep him safe. God is good. God, miracles do happen. While obviously extremely cool if true, this seems unlikely. A bear researcher, Chris Serpine from the University of Montana, unambiguously told The Guardian, I've never known such a thing to happen. Bears don't do that. So what would? Bigfoot. Bigfoot would do that. So God sent Bigfoot to protect Casey Hathaway. And as his auntie said, sent by God, miracles do happen. Now, if God can walk across a cloud and hide behind a cloud, clearly God can send Bigfoot to save a little child.
Yep.
Right, Kevin?
Yeah, I guess so.
He don't want to get involved in that. All right. Well, what else you got there? That was my Bigfoot story of the night. The miracle and the angelic Bigfoot sent by God to save a child. And probably a lot of you
Yeah.
folks have already heard that story. I gave it in abbreviated form, but I thought it was pretty cool. And and by the way, there's been many reports of a Bigfoot helping lost children.
Yeah.
Myriads of experiences where a Bigfoot intervened in a lost child plight and helped him survive. So a bear wouldn't do that. But Bigfoot, I think a Bigfoot would, because a Bigfoot is kind of a cousin like we are to the gorilla, I think.
So
Well,
human-
except the Bigfoot that's walking on the clouds up there.
Oh. Well, I got
that
a
could have been
story.
Cupid.
You got what kind of story?
What was that? Could have been who?
Cupid.
Oh, Cupid.
But no, I didn't see a bow and arrow. Even though Kevin's been trying to shoot those bows out to their little actress girlfriends. All in love with Kevin. Doing.
All right, yeah, I got a story here. I've been hearing this one since I was a kid. Well, not a little kid. It happened in 1994, so I was pretty much in my early teen years. But I first heard this on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries, and this is ghostly apparition who saves her son's life near Pollock Pines. I believe this was in California. Oh, Nevada. It was in Nevada. Okay, here we go.
Close.
Yeah. A mother's love for her child has to be one of the most powerful forces on the planet. Oh, have you got that picture of the ghost on the side of the road? I meant to throw that up when
Ghost.
we got the headlights and yeah, there it is. Give a little eerie ambiance here. All right, a mother's love for her child has to be one of the most powerful forces on the planet. So strong that even after death, she can lie as a naked ghost alongside a highway to
He
get
did say it.
help.
He did say it.
To get help for her desperately endangered son. That's what many who hear the story of Nick Skubish and his late mom, Christine, believe. And even the Unsolved Mysteries TV show aired a segment on the case that occurred just east of Pollock Pines, some 15 miles from Placerville. Christine, 24 at the time, and her 3-year-old son, Nicky, had left her family's home near Sacramento on their way to Carson City, Nevada on June 5th, 1994. They never arrived at their destination, and soon the pair's relatives notified law enforcement that they were missing. Some 5 days later, a South Lake Tahoe couple was driving home late at night, and the woman, Deborah Hoyt, was shocked and horrified to see a naked, apparently dead woman lying on the side of Highway 50 at what locals call Bullion Bend, just outside Pollock Pines. The Hoyts found their way to the nearest phone in these pre-cell phone times, and a prompt nighttime search of the area failed to turn up a naked woman or anything else untoward in that vicinity. That is, until daylight, when El Dorado County Sheriff's Officer Rich Strasser returned to the area and located a child's shoe alongside the road. Another matching shoe was found just down the embankment, and soon the wreckage was located. Nicky, clinging to life by a thread, was rushed to safety. Christine was dead and had been so for days, it was determined. Some published accounts state that Nicky was within 30 minutes of dying himself, and some who have interviewed the now grown young man have quoted him as saying he believed that 3 angels had kept watch over him during the 5-day ordeal. It is thought that Christine fell asleep at the wheel and that her vehicle plunged down a 40-foot bank, crashing through trees before coming to a stop. Officials have said the young mother likely died upon impact or shortly thereafter, but her son somehow survived the dramatic crash. In fact, Nicky has said in interviews as an adult that he remembers actually climbing from the wreckage and making his way up to the highway in the nightmarish days and nights that followed. Being 3 years old, however, he returned to the car where his mom lay dead, seeking the only source of safety he could know. The Unsolved Mysteries segment leaves it to the viewer to reach conclusions about the ghostly apparition that led to officers ultimately helping save young Nicky. The Hoyts reportedly were not the only folks to call about seeing a naked woman lying on the side of the road, although exact information on how many reports were received is not readily at hand. Skeptics have said that the sightings likely were the 3-year-old child himself lying and resting after having climbed the steep bank up the highway. But the description given by Deborah Hoyt of a busty, naked lady lying on her side, bent legs together with an arm over her head, along with numerous other similar sightings, does give one pause. To add to the strange and compelling story, one of Christine's aunts reported having dreams of her niece being in desperate trouble, then being deceased. Dreams that began around 3 a.m., June 6, 1994, complete with visions of the accident, as though the aunt herself riding in the seat in the rear of the ill-fated car. The aunt, who refused to participate in the Unsolved Mysteries recreation for TV and turned down other such offers, reportedly arrived at the scene of the fatal crash just after Officer Strasser had found one of Nicky's shoes. Christine's aunt had her husband drive her to the area based on premonitions she said she had regarding her niece's death and Nicky's being in imminent life-threatening danger. So a lot of people believe that what folks were seeing there lying on the road was the apparition of Christine trying to warn somebody, hey, my car has wrecked and my son is down there, because they do say she most likely had died on impact. She certainly did not climb up and lay on the side of the road, then climb back down and put her clothes back on. She was totally smashed into the steering wheel, and she was dead. There was no way that she went anywhere. But I believe her ghost was trying to save her little boy so he wouldn't die as well. By trying to, give some kind of signal. I don't know why she had to lay down and not stand there with clothes on and wave.
So that kind of reminded me of a personal story I had when I lived up in Nashville, going through Brentwood from I-65 back over toward Bellevue, where I lived, late one night, and there's a section there that's a golf course, and it's real ritzy houses. It's not a poor neighborhood. You're not going to find any homeless people in that neighborhood, I guarantee you. So we're driving along. My wife is in the passenger seat, and I'm driving along. All of a sudden, she says, "What's that woman doing out there?" Well, I didn't see it, but she described the woman down to even the color and type of sweater she had on. So I thought, we better turn around and check. So I did. I turned around. We actually rode very slow, hollering out, "Hey, anybody need any help?" Never found anybody. So when I got back home, I called the police and let them know that my wife had seen somebody on the side of the road there. And she said, I think they were laying down on the side of the road. And the story the police gave me was what was hair-raising, if you will, because they said just a week before, a woman of that description had got killed in a car wreck right there. So she saw, I guess, the apparition of this woman, laying there. And, interesting story that was.
Yeah.
But, that you never know. I don't try to put answers to it because I don't know the answers. But I do know that Martin Kemp, who is a singer, 59-year-old singer, believes that he has the answers, because he believes that there's a friendly ghost that visited him several times, including one memorable moment in which the spirit spoke to him directly, telling him to go back inside his house. And he said that saved him from being hit by a car. He explained, "One morning I left the house thinking about the day ahead when I heard a voice in my ear as if someone were talking to me. It was a voice talking to me directly, and as though they needed to tell me something really, really important. It was a man's voice, clear and deep. The voice seemed to speak slowly, as if it wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be scared. It simply said, 'Go back into the house.' I started to walk back towards the front door, trying to make sense of what had happened, when I heard a almighty bang. A Ford Katina had careened into the space between two cars parked in the road, the exact space I would have been standing if I hadn't have heard that voice. So Martin believes the spirit first came to him after he and a friend from school," listen to this, Kevin, Martin believes the spirit came to him after he and a friend from school used a Ouija board when they were kids, during which time he saw his ghostly pal. He added, "We sat watching this glass spin around the old-fashioned Ouija board, spelling out a message for Martin. The room felt a little cooler. 'Let's see what it says,' I muttered. 'I am your guide. Your name is Lynn.' My heart was hammering in my chest. Who was Lynn? Why was he guiding me? And when the Spandau Ballet..." Okay, why did this happen? Right in the middle of this thing.
Is the ghost messing with you?
Yes.
It's so
Right
stupid.
in the middle of Yes. Right in the middle of this stupid...
Happened to me a few weeks ago. Articles kept on pop up and blacked out the screen.
Can't finish my story. It's gonna force me to. Come on. There we go. There we go. And when the Spandau ballet star told his mother about the ghostly experience, she informed him Lynn was a foreman at the print works where his dad had worked. Writing in his new book, It's a Love Story, he said, she explained, he died a few years ago. He knew all about you and Gary, Martin's brother. So I still think it's Lynn who managed to save my life. There must have been thousands of tiny moments when Lynn was looking out for me over the years. Have you ever had an experience like that?
Oh, I know who Spandau Ballet is.
So have you ever had an experience of being saved by a ghost,
No, not me.
Catherine?
I do have a story of a ambulance ride. I was sitting in the front seat with one of my partners, and we had somebody else driving, and we were both riding in the front seat, and my pants leg got caught on the door and opened the door as we were making a turn, and somehow I managed not to fall out as we were making the turn. I don't know
You were saved by the bell.
I don't know what it was.
So, folks, it's 30 minutes after the big hour of 7, and my name is Kelsey from Abnormal, Alabama. That's Catherine from Abnormal, Alabama. There's Kevin from MyHauntedDolls.com. He writes and sells books. He also had his Haunted Dolls. He does his own podcast, and he's been a guest on so many podcasts we can't keep track of it. He's even been in Playboy magazine. And no, he did not show his tits. So don't go looking for him.
I was there not by photo, but by article.
That's it.
I'm just there for the articles.
And actually, we're very honored to have Kevin with us because he is world renowned in the haunted doll circuit. And he's got quite a collection in his home, and he keeps adding to it all the time. He just, a year ago or so, bought this huge estate over in Chelsea, and he's already outgrowing that. He's kicking his brother out of the because he's going to turn that into a museum back there, I think. But anyway, Kevin's a cool dude. I wrote the most closest book I have to anything woo-woo is Dating the Dead. And you can find Dating the Dead, datingthedead.com. It's where you can learn about my little book. Other than that, go to thewishdr.com. That stands for the Wish Doctor, but don't spell out doctor. The Wish, not witch, but wishdr.com, and learn about the wishing machine, the vampire machine, and the Tepaphone. I've been selling these things and shipping them worldwide. In fact, I've just sent out another one to the UK. Yesterday. Mm-hmm. So my machines have been literally all over the world, and then from Alaska to Florida, New York, you name it, everywhere. And I just started this in August, so there's a great demand for my wishing machines. I got 2 of them I got to get out this weekend already. So that's what we do to make money. We do this show every Tuesday night because we like these stories, and we have fun doing this. And we hope that you just attach yourselves to our names and whatnot so much that you'll want so bad to buy what we're selling. And
yes.
and go there. Now, on the YouTube channel, Abnormal Alabama, I have hundreds of videos. Kevin does too, but I've traveled, especially all over Alabama. I've done videos of all kind of interesting, quirky things in Alabama and parts of Georgia. And parts of Mississippi, all the way down the Gulf Coast and whatnot. In fact, this Friday, I'm going to do a very nifty video of an event taking place in Birmingham, so look for that one. I'm planning a trip down to Tuskegee, Alabama shortly, too, because there's a lot of history down there I want to record. So subscribe to the channels, our YouTube channels, bookmark our websites, and also buy Kevin's books.
Yes.
He's got them in he's got them in audio form. He's got them in Kindle form. About any kind of form.
Yeah.
Do you have them in Braille yet?
No, but I got audio book for a
He's
couple
got
of them.
audio, so you don't need Braille. Just listen to it.
Yeah.
And what a better way to go to sleep than listening to a scary story, right?
And Dr. Graham, do not forget that we're going to have 2 new items coming up really, really soon on the wishdoctor.com.
Yes, we got some more stuff happening.
Yeah, I can do that too. There we go.
You can't even name it.
Mine's in my purse.
Yeah, so bookmark. Oh, and also, the wishdr.com. Bookmark that. We can keep. And also, we got a Facebook page, The Wishing Machine, and also Abnormal Alabama on Facebook. So join us for all the fun. And now, why don't we go back to Mr. Kevin Kane and see what kind of interesting, phenomenal story he has to share with us.
I say tonight's creepy award goes to Catherine Marie and her box there, because all that is just you see a face in the shadows.
I'm in my undisclosed location again.
You need to get your flashlight out there.
She might be hiding outside.
That's a possibility.
Ah.
I just
Do you have your Wi-Fi password protected?
yes, I do. I don't want no ghost to get it.
So we're talking about miracles tonight,
Yeah.
and we've had a Bigfoot miracle. We've had a getting killed by the side of the road miracle.
If you will go look on Abnormal Alabama on Facebook, there are some pictures that I posted of my friend's father in the clouds.
Oh yeah, let's go back a ways, isn't it?
It's going back a couple of years ago. Yes. He had recently passed, and I was snapping photos and just beautiful clouds. Didn't notice it when I was taking the photo, but I went back and looked at the photos, and it was a perfect picture in the clouds of her father.
What is he spraying there?
Some canned air.
There was some cleaning my keyboard.
I need to do that too.
All right, so let's go back to
All right.
Mr. Kevin Kane and see if he's got another wonderful little story for us.
Tell a spooky one here.
Yeah. Okay. You got to hold the flashlight up.
Like that.
Turn your lights out of the room. Turn your lights out of the room. Get the ambience right.
No, my next story ties right into the idea of an apparition. And now I tried to pull this. I tried to search this story today. It was a long time ago I read it, and for some reason today I could not find any copy of this story out there. So I'm going to tell it from my memory. I'll have to use a made-up name. But there was a young lady named Vicky who came home from work one evening. She lived in a house that she rented. And next door to her was a kind of an older lady that was real sweet and sometimes looked after her. But one night, Vicky came home and she parked and went in her house. It's one of those one-level small houses that so it was all she could afford on a single salary. And she walks in the door and she flips on a lamp in the living room and heads toward the archway that leads into the kitchen area. Well, she gets almost to the archway and she feels something hit her chest hard enough to send her sprawling backwards onto the floor. And she's just laying there thinking, what the hell just happened to me? And she looks up at the archway and she doesn't see anything. She thought, did I just spaz out or something? What the heck hit me in the chest? So she gets up and she's, shakes it off and starts toward the door. Again, she gets to the archway. She feels a force blast her backwards, and she goes falling backwards onto the floor. This time when she looks up, she notices in the archway this shadowy image of a tall man standing there. see-through-ish. There was no facial features, just a dark, shadowy-looking figure standing there, towering, and then it suddenly vanished. About that time, her phone rang. So she picked up the phone on the end table there near the sofa after, picking herself back up off the floor and answered it. And still in shock after seeing this shadow, she keeps staring at the arch as she answers the phone, hello. And it's her elderly neighbor next door. And she says, Vicky, turn around, walk out of the house. She said, I was over here taking my trash out and I saw movement towards your house in your kitchen window. There's a man inside there hiding next to your refrigerator with a knife. I've called the police. You need to get out. So she puts the phone down, heads out. Before long, sirens come, the police come. They go in, and sure enough, there's a man trying to hide in the kitchen that had a knife out. He'd apparently broke in through the back door somehow and was waiting on her to do who knows what. And Vicky thought back to that shadowy image she saw in the doorway that hit her in the chest and sent her sprawling to the floor. Ooh, here we go. Ooh. What was that? Was that a ghost? Was it an angel? A guardian angel, maybe? She doesn't know. But she didn't tell anybody about that for a long time. But she said, had it not been for whoever or whatever that was in the doorway, smacking her in the chest and knocking her backwards and keeping her from going through, she would have entered the kitchen and she could have been stabbed to death, robbed, raped, whatever. So that's another supernatural guardian story. Where is there? Ah, here they come.
Supernatural. When you're telling any of your stories and they relate to any of the pictures you shared, don't hesitate to tell me.
Yeah, that one
which
didn't.
ones.
I couldn't find the story again. I know it was out there in 2 or 3 places years back. Now it's gone.
Well, here is the Greenbrier Ghost. And this one is so, I don't know how to word it. They've even got a marker up where this took place. The marker of Greenbrier Ghost reads, interred in nearby cemetery is Zona Hester Shue. Her death in 1897 was presumed natural until her spirit appeared to her mother to describe how she was killed by her husband, Edward. Autopsy of the exhumed body verified the apparition's account. Edward, found guilty of murder, was sentenced to the state prison. Only known case in which testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer. So February of 1897, Greenbrier, this is in Greenbrier, West Virginia, Mary Jane Hester. She claimed she started receiving visits from her late daughter, Elva Zona Hester, regularly at midnight. Zona had died a month prior of you could tell we're going back in time. Have you ever heard of everlasting faint? That was a diagnosis. That was a diagnosis back then. Everlasting faint. I'd never heard of that one. And I'm old. Though Hester suspected a more nefarious cause was to blame, when she took Zona's burial sheet home and washed it, Hester watched as the water ran red. Because of this, Hester took the situation seriously when her deceased daughter allegedly appeared in the middle of the night. Zona told Hester that her husband, Erasmus Edward Stribling, Trout Shue, had snapped her neck. The specter reportedly rotated her head to show her mother what had happened to her. Hester immediately went to the police and told them her story, and miraculously they believed her and exhumed Zona's body. They performed an autopsy since Edward had prevented the local coroner from examining Zona when she died. Doctors quickly discovered Zona's neck was indeed broken, and they arrested Edward, for killing her. Now, what do you think about that? And there's even a one of those markers on the side of the road confirming that whole story.
I had heard that about that
That's a fascinating story,
I
isn't
think
it?
that's the only one of the books where a ghost helped convict her.
That's what they said. That's what they
Yeah.
said. Yeah. So let's go back to Mr. Kevin Kane and see what he's got now.
Sure.
Catherine, if you've got anything, I hadn't been calling on you, but you're free to jump in and say, "I'm sorry."
You know, I will.
But until you do, I'm just going to throw it back to Kevin.
Okay. Before I do, I just want to say, just a reminder, even Michael Myers has to use the bathroom.
Oh God! You know what? Speaking of one of these guys having to use the bathroom, I've always been concerned. How does Edward Scissorhands use the bathroom?
Oh, ow, ooh,
And how does he wipe his butt?
He has a bidet.
He has a bidet, like in
Okay.
France. Got
Okay.
one of them there French faucets.
I'm sorry, but I thought about that before. It's like, how in the world?
Ay, ay, ay.
That don't even sound good, does it?
Well, I got this next story is a pretty good one from Argentina. And this one does have a photo. It's that one with the hand holding the crucifix. If you can put that up there. There it is. Ooh, there it is. Ooh, good. All right. Police were shocked after they responded to a call in Las Talitas, Argentina. A young boy had survived after being struck by a stray bullet. In what is being referred to as the New Year's miracle in Argentina, the young boy's crucifix necklace supposedly deflected the stray bullet, leaving him with only superficial wounds. 9-year-old Argentinian boy Tiziano was playing outside his house with his cousins on New Year's Eve. That's when he felt a sudden sharp pain around his chest. Upon inspection, the startled Tiziano found a bullet on the ground where the incident happened. After the incident, Tiziano was rushed to the hospital del Niño Jesus, where he was examined. Doctors confirmed that the young boy had been grazed by the bullet and suffered only superficial wounds. Upon further inspection, Tiziano's aunt found the boy's crucifix necklace, and she noticed a deformed hole where there had not been one before. The family claims the cross necklace, which was given to Tiziano as a gift from his father, miraculously deflected the stray bullet, leaving the young boy with only minor injuries. The police are investigating the source of the stray bullet, and they are looking for the individual who fired it. But according to Tiziano's father, David, there have been no arrests as of yet. While some on social media have criticized the validity of certain aspects of the story, others have faith that this was a divine act of God saving the boy. But as Tiziano's father put it, the most important thing in this situation is that the young boy lived to see another day. So, and that's a picture of the crucifix there that y'all were looking at with the deformed hole in it.
Crucified.
Just a really awesome lucky coincidence, or was it a miracle?
Crucified. How many people like Dolly Parton?
I love Dolly Parton.
Well, do you know that Dolly
I got an
Parton
autograph.
says that her late grandmothers watch over her?
I think I've heard that before. Her and Loretta Lynn have both told stories.
Well, Dolly Parton, the wearer of coats of many colors, apparently has guardians of many dimensions. This famous country singer and actress claims she's received help from both of her grandmothers long after they died. On one occasion, they wanted her not to board a plane headed to Salt Lake City. As Parton recalls, suddenly I saw my grandma's ghost standing in the corner. She kept saying, "Don't catch that plane. Don't catch that plane." So Parton decided to heed the advice and switch flights. The flight crashed, leaving no survivors. Later, her guardian grannies also supposedly warned her about a potentially costly deal. Parton declined to sign a contract that would have resulted in her losing millions of dollars. So Dolly, hello Dolly.
Wow.
She has help from her deceased grandmothers.
Oh.
So now I know Catherine was very close to at least one of her sets of grandparents. Isn't that right, Catherine?
Correct.
Do they ever come to you? Have you ever had any help from them since they died? Do they ever come and say, Catherine, stay away from Kevin?
I don't know if it's them, but I do often have little voices telling me, go for that, or no, you need to not do that.
That's
I don't
called,
know.
that's called schizophrenia.
Well, it is what it is.
No, I mean, some people really, really believe they have that happen. And I'm just curious.
What I have been told, like going down the road, and for some reason, strange reason, something tells me I need to slow down.
Mm.
And about that, a few seconds later, a deer will run out in front of me, or there'll be a deer in the middle of the road, or something to that nature.
Well, I never hear from any of my deceased relatives. I think they were glad to get away from me, and they just stopped all communication once they got to the other side. So
they may be talking to you, and you don't hear them.
Yeah.
Or you ignore them.
Am I not tuned in? Is that the problem?
I think that maybe you do need to be get a little attuning done.
Yeah, kind of ease off of that skepticism a little bit.
I'm not skeptical.
But
I'm just careful about what I believe.
Kevin, what's funny is I'm a big skeptic.
Yeah.
But yet, when I can't explain something, what is it?
Yeah.
It's unexplainable. That's what it is.
It's unexplainable.
Hey, it's abnormal. It's the unknown.
It's the unknown.
It's the unknown.
It's the unknown.
Okay, so now we know what Dolly Parton gets into with Granny is following her around, telling her, stay away from that, be careful with that. And she claims they've saved her not only her life, but also saved her money. Kevin, what do you got?
Didn't Elvis Presley have that same thing? No. I think he claimed to have seen images of his mother, but I don't.
He was very, very close to his mother, yeah.
But I know now. I remember as I say that he did also oftentimes go by himself and talk. You know, some people may not know this, but he had a twin brother who I think died.
Oh yeah.
And oftentimes he would sit and talk in private in a room by himself and just talk to his shadow like it was his twin. And carry on a conversation. He felt like his twin brother was always there with him.
Yeah, and he always, from my understanding, felt guilty that his twin had died.
Yeah, he lived and the twin died. So
yeah, that was troubling.
He carried a lot of guilt about his mama, even though he did a lot for her and with her.
And died at the same age she died.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I know that everybody knows I have a daughter, right?
No, you got a daughter?
Yes, Bug.
Some kind of bug over there in her house.
Yeah, bug.
If you're having a problem over there, I have some insecticide.
Well, back in September, she lost her best friend, and they had been together since they were. Anthony was a month older than Elizabeth, and we lost him in September. Elizabeth was involved in a very bad accident on November the 30th, and she swears to me that Anthony was in the car with her on November the 30th, and he told her to slam the brakes.
Wow, I wouldn't doubt it.
Oh yeah. All right, Kevin, you got another one?
Yeah, this one's got a picture with it. It's that one that It looks like a color image of a security camera, and you see it looks like a hospital court. There you go. I like this one. This is a pretty cool story. Okay. Colleen Banton was waiting in the hospital with her 14-year-old daughter, Chelsea, praying for a miracle. Chelsea was born prematurely and had a battle with her health her whole life. This time, Chelsea was suffering from a terrible case of pneumonia. Little did the family know that a miracle was about to be received. Colleen feared that this hospital visit would be Chelsea's last, since her weak body was staying alive only with the help of life support. Colleen made the heartbreaking decision to take her daughter off life support to let nature take its course. Not 1 hour later, the nurses on Chelsea's floor were hovered around the security camera, shocked by what they saw. Outside of Chelsea's door, they saw an angel. They quickly grabbed Colleen, who snapped this picture of the security footage in amazement. Colleen knew this was an angel here for Chelsea, but she feared the angel would take her little girl home. As they went in to check on Chelsea's miraculous recovery, the doctors and nurses were stunned. Now, this is a girl that was taken off life support now. It wasn't supposed to make it. Not long after her brush with death, Chelsea was able to go home. While everyone was shocked, Colleen knew that God had sent her daughter this angel. They had prayed for a miracle, and that's exactly what they got. Now, that is amazing there. I wish they had the actual footage. I'm sure the hospital wasn't going to share it, but I mean, the whole horde of nurses and everybody were there watching this thing on the camera, hovering outside that little girl's door as she was supposed to be dying off life support, and boom, she made a recovery. So what was that? An angel, a ghost, apparition?
I don't know.
Was it Bigfoot lighting a cigarette?
It could have been it could have been the thin man walking the halls.
Could have been Jesus himself coming to say it's not your time.
It could have been Hosgabahuhu.
Hosgabahuhu, what?
You haven't heard the story of Hosgabahuhu?
Now, is this thing related to that he creature, that lady I talked about that came out of my closet in my night?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Hoo, he.
Yeah, no. I'll indoctrinate you at a different time. I'll put it this way. We don't say hallelujah. We say hoo-hoo. So are you familiar with Pawleys Island, South Carolina?
Yes, I know what you're going to tell.
The beautiful homes there.
Yeah.
Wonderful beachfront properties. And what's the third thing that Pawleys Island gets?
I can answer. Me.
Frequent hurricanes.
Well, there's that too.
Yeah, well, this has something to do with where we're headed. What's over there? What are we talking about, Kevin?
We're talking about the Gray Man.
Bingo! Ding, 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 ding.
Come on down. You're the next person. Oh, my ghost is right.
So if you've ever lived there, you know people who live there, you know of the Gray Man. He's a figure dressed in old-fashioned pirate clothes, and legend states he appears just before the onset of a hurricane, and those who see him will survive with their house intact. So, man, people are out there looking for the Gray Man when a hurricane's coming. In 1989, Jim and Clara Moore, longtime residents of Pawleys Island, say the Gray Man saved their lives. They took a stroll along the beach, and the Moores claimed they saw no one else on the beach except for this one man who was walking toward them. Jim remembers, when I got within speaking distance, I raised my hand to say hi, or beautiful evening, or whatever. He just vanished. He disappeared. So after Hurricane Hugo hit in 1989, most homes in Moore's neighborhood ended up destroyed, except for theirs. And they believe it was because the Gray Man had come to see them on that fateful day. Another witness to the Gray Man, a fisherman, says he saw the figure while fishing a few miles north of Pawleys. While out in the early evening, the witness alleges he saw someone waving to him on the shore. Drawing closer, the fisherman realized the man, dressed in the garb of an old pirate, held up his hand as if to say, "Stop." The figure disappeared from the shore. The fisherman decided to take it as a sign. Later that night, a strong storm hit the area, and the fisherman credits again the gray man for saving him from that storm. So if you're around Pawleys Island and there's a possibility of a storm coming, or you're walking along the beach and you see the gray man, just give him a thumbs up and get the hell out of there. Pay attention to the signals. It's 8 o'clock in the evening, and we have finished up the first hour of Abnormals Alabama's Abnormals podcasting, live streaming, whatever we do you'd like to call it. We don't really have a name for this. We just do it, and we have fun doing it. And like I tell everybody, if you don't like it, don't criticize us. Just leave.
That's right.
Get the hell out of here.
And if you want to be on the show, just contact us.
If you think our stories are boring and you've got a good story, message one of us. We'll let you tell your story. Really. We're not ashamed to have other people tell stories. So get hold of Kevin, myself, or Catherine, and you got a spooky, scary, something phenomenal, abnormal. It don't have to be ghosts. It could be cryptids. It could be Bigfoot. It could be Nessie. It could be whatever. It could be like Kevin's God walking on the clouds. Whatever. But if you got something interesting to share, share it.
My God. My Jesus.
So what is it?
We all love to gab.
I don't. It takes a lot of effort for me.
You know, I have to work word in edgewise here.
I give you all the opportunity in the world.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know. We can't shut Kevin up long enough to say anything.
Now notice who's talking at this time. It isn't me.
You are talking. He's talking. So, Mr. Gabber, what kind of story you got for us now?
I got another kind of spooky miracle here. That this one's got the photo with it. It's a husband and wife, and the guy's holding the baby. I think I sent that one to you. There it is. These folks. This is real life, and these are the folks and the baby it happened to. At 10 o'clock on a Friday night in March last year, Jennifer Grosbeck veered off a road in northern Utah as she drove back from dinner at her father's home and hurtled into the ice of the Spanish River. What caused her to swerve remains a mystery, but unluckily, the front wheel of her car caught the edge of the bridge's concrete wall, causing the vehicle to flip over it and crash down into the river. It landed upside down in the shallows with such force that the windscreen was blown out, the roof crushed as if it had cardboard. Out of sight from the road, the red Dodge hatchback sat in chest-high foaming water for 14 hours until it was spotted by an angler who reported seeing a hand dangling out the window. 4 local police officers arrived first, their sense of urgency captured by the body camera one of them had switched on, and whose footage has since been watched thousands of times on the internet. They dashed into the water, so cold that a total of 7 policemen. Oh, now I'm having that crap that you had, Kelsey, where these stupid ads are trying to pop up.
That's a pain, isn't it?
All right, let me get this thing back up here. Damn this thing.
All right, Ghostesses, quit.
It's your thing. Do what you want to do.
Stupid ads that want to pop up. God. Cheap bums, pay for your website and quit putting these ads up here. I pay for my website. Okay.
Lord have mercy.
All right, here we go. They dash into the water so cold that a total of 7 policemen and firemen were later treated for hypothermia and desperately try to get inside the crushed vehicle. Then, about 2 minutes into the body camera footage, its microphone picks up the faint sound of an adult voice sounding urgent. It is unintelligible on the footage, but appears to be a plea for help as Officer Jared Warner responds, "We're helping, we're coming." Something very odd had just happened, although the emergency responders weren't to realize it at the time. With visibly new urgency, the rescuers turned the water car on its side and discovered the 25-year-old driver was long dead. That's the mother in the photo there. But there was a baby in the back seat, Mistress Grosbeck's 18-month-old daughter, Lily, upside down and strapped into a child seat that had kept her out of the water and, crucially, kept her clothes dry. She had remained there for an age, her face suspended just above the churning. Unconscious and suffering from hypothermia, Lily was successfully revived at the hospital. Her miraculous survival made headlines around the world, and it wasn't until later that 4 policemen discussed those frantic minutes and realized there was something very puzzling about them. Now, listen to this now. If the mother had died in the initial impact of the crash and the baby was unconscious, then whose was the female voice they each swore they had heard coming from the car? One of those policemen, Tyler Beddoes, believes he knows the answer. Lily was saved by a heavenly guardian who had comforted her during that bleak, freezing night in the half-submerged car, and then called out for help as her life hung in the balance. In a new book, Proof of Angels, Beddoes, an officer with 10 years' experience, describes how the rescue has solidified a religious faith he previously hadn't really felt. One doesn't have to be a skeptical atheist to wonder whether someone might be trying to find a religious message here that isn't warranted. Beddoes is a Mormon, a religion that believes we all have a guardian angel. The Lily Grosbeck case, nevertheless, defies any easy explanation. One impressionable or superstitious officer could decide to believe he heard a mysterious voice, but 4 witnesses, plus the camera footage that captured it, are harder to dismiss, especially the footage capturing a muffled voice that can be heard in the officer's response. So there you go, the mysterious voice. We've had Bigfoot, apparitions, angels. Now we got a voice.
You got a voice. Catherine,
Yes.
is Kevin's feed a little bit quirky tonight? Or is
Yeah,
it just,
it has been a couple of times that it's been kind of.
yeah.
Is it fine
I think
now?
It's
fine.
fine now.
Yeah. So
When I had that article up just now with ads trying to pop up, I noticed
that
it
I think that was interfering. Yeah.
Yeah, but as soon as I cut it off, I'm back to normal.
Do you have something?
We have someone watching us tonight, and I'd like to say hello to Mark in Charlotte.
Hello, Mark in Charlotte. Is that Mark in Charlotte or Mark and Charlotte?
Mark in Charlotte, from Charlotte.
I know Mark. How you doing, Mark? Thanks for Thanks for flying my drone and breaking it. No, I'm kidding. No, but thanks for getting it going again. Kevin,
Yes.
do you believe in doppelgangers?
I've got my own ideas of that. Yeah, I've heard a lot
Alright.
of stories about that.
So look at that picture right there.
But that's me, not my doppelganger.
Oh, you're about to see your doppelganger.
Oh.
Anybody want to take a guess as to who his twin is? And I didn't get the best picture of his twin, but it's close enough. There were other pictures.
who you're probably gonna throw up there, but
Who? Tell me.
because I used to get it a lot back then. People kept saying I look like Wayne Newton.
No, God, no.
No, no.
I had a little mustache and
Uh,
the slick hair.
Catherine, you got any?
It looks familiar, but I just
Mhm.
cannot put the name to the face.
Anybody watching got any idea of who? Now, Kevin is a young version of, and the picture I got of his double, is he didn't have his hair the same, but I mean, in some of the pictures it's even better. But I just grabbed the best one with a mustache,
Oh,
and
Lord.
the resemblance is very, very. And the interesting thing about it is, what year were you born, Kevin?
1978.
Yeah. So this guy died in the early '90s. Okay. Um, Anybody out there want to take a guess as to who Kevin's
Doppelganger.
doppelganger? Who's Kevin's
Double boy.
double? Who's Kevin, the younger version, maybe even reincarnated?
Mm.
Tick, 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 tick. Nobody's gonna guess. Are you ready? Are you ready for the reveal?
I keep thinking he's going to put up Homer Simpson.
Oh
I
no,
know,
no,
something's
no!
going
Not,
crazy.
look, okay, y'all just hold your breath. Hold your breath. Hold your breath. You ready?
Uh huh.
Okay. Oh, come on.
Who is that?
John Candy.
John Candy. I
Look,
don't
look,
John
look,
Candy.
look,
Oh,
look, look,
boy.
look, look,
No,
look,
no, no.
look.
Nah.
Yeah, that's John Candy, just a younger
I
version.
don't know about John Candy.
I was thinking more about the guy that plays on that on that mall cop.
Oh, Kevin James.
Yes, I think that's his name.
I don't know. I just looked at that and I said, that's John Candy, the
But I got a
mustache.
lot of back during that time. I had a lot of people tell me I look like Wayne Newton, the young Wayne Newton, not now.
Yeah, very young.
Because he had a little
Like,
mustache, slick hair. and
little 10-year-old Wayne
Some
Newton.
people would come up to me and start singing "Donkey Shame."
Ain't that a shame?
Okay, Kelsey, who is your doppelganger?
I don't have one. I've looked and there's nobody as ugly as I am. I've tried.
I have one named Rebecca out there somewhere.
At earlier times in my life, I was with my bald head. I was that guy that used to play on Star Trek.
Yeah,
Let me
I can
see.
see that.
And then when I was in my I think late 30s, and I had still had some Russian connections, they would call me Putin.
I got one. I got your doppelganger, but since I can't share photos, I'll have to send it to you and you throw it up there.
Where are you gonna
I
send
don't know
it?
if you'll want me to just Facebook it or.
I don't matter. Just send it somewhere.
I can tell you who
Alright,
I
I
think
got
he
it
looks
right.
like.
He's probably gonna put. Hey, you know who he's gonna put. I'll tell you who he's gonna put.
Dr. Evil.
No, he's gonna put
Dr.
Alfred E.
Evil.
Newman. He's gonna put
No.
Alfred E. Newman.
I guess I could have put Alfred Hitchcock, but no.
I'll take that. I haven't got anything yet.
Gosh, I'm trying to get this thing to open. Here we go. All right, I'm about to send that there picture. Come on.
Doppelgangers. Doppelganger.
Okay.
Is this coming on Facebook or where's it coming?
I'll send it on Facebook on the messenger right now. There's your.
Okay. I kind of know who that is, but I'm not even going to argue that. No. I mean, you know, that's close. I mean, really. I'm not
Let's
gonna.
see.
I got to get it loaded here, and we'll put it up. Really. I mean, you know.
Okay, Kevin. You
just
know all
say
the
it.
actresses and all that good stuff. Who is my doppelganger?
Oh
Hold on,
gosh.
hold on.
You're
You-
so
you want me to
unique.
do this?
I don't know. That's gonna take a while for me to figure
Okay.
See,
All right.
the thing is, I can change my looks.
that
Are y'all ready to see what Kevin says is my doppelganger?
Go for it.
Dr. Loomis.
Let's see. He was on Elm Street or
No, Halloween.
Halloween. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Michael Myers. Yeah, he's evil.
Yeah, but at least he was intelligent.
Yeah. It's the unconscious mind.
That's unconscious.
We're all afraid of the dark inside.
Are you afraid of the dark?
He has some damn good lines in there.
Yeah. All right. So enough of the doppelgangers ganging up on the doppels. So I've got a very short story as we go along into our last 45 minutes after we got it sidetracked by Kevin's double.
You started it.
I know.
Yeah,
that was fun.
you did say my double. Okay, I thought you were going to say I did it.
I did say. I own it, man. I own it, okay?
Okay.
In 2007, a young woman staying with a friend experienced her first paranormal activity. The friend she stayed with had a shrine dedicated to his late sister, to whom he performed a sort of a daily ritual in her honor. A shot of tequila and turning on the stereo to play a song that she loved. The woman says her friend assured her that as long as she as long as she stayed under his roof, his sister would protect her. So one day while home alone, the woman alleged that her abusive former partner broke into the house and tried to attack her. He threatened her with a knife, but the shrine suddenly came to life. It shook violently and candles were blown out. A crucifix flung itself at her attacker. After the stereo on the memorial turned on by itself, the attacker fled. She purportedly never heard from him again. I wonder why. I wonder why. Wonder hoop-a-doo hoo. Okay, Kevin, you got another story?
I thought you said you're going to tell a 45-minute story.
No, we got 45 minutes left in the show.
I was waiting on a little more.
I've got some hydrogen peroxide and some Q-tips if you need it, Kevin.
I got some more here.
Some more? Some s'more?
Was you about to tell something, Catherine?
You know, I worked on the ambulance for years, and we had a lot of strange things that happened as people were, because you can't save everyone, right?
That's not right. It's your job to save everybody.
It's your job to attempt to save everyone, unless they have a DNR.
That's exactly why you don't work for the ambulance anymore. That's exactly why you don't work there anymore.
Well, when it's your time, it's your time.
Oh, okay. So then I'm not going to go to the hospital.
When it's your time, there's nothing you can do. Okay?
Well, you know what? They used to tell me when your number's up. I fooled them. I keep changing numbers.
And you know they're about to.
Yeah.
you know they're about to tear down Caraway Hospital, right?
Yeah. Well, they let it rot to the ground first.
It's hard. All those poor spirits.
No, they're not. They're giving a new residence for the poor spirits to haunt that new place.
Just a new place to haunt.
Yes, I was born there, and
that's why they're tearing it down, probably.
They shouldn't memorialize it because I was born there.
Yeah, they're gonna memorialize it.
I want the blue. I want the blue star off the top of it.
Do you see that? Do you see that head floating in space out there?
Please shine some light over there on her.
Hey, that's the coolest effect on any podcast.
She made me think of Speak to the Hand. Except to her, Speak to the Head.
Speak to the head.
Her head's floating.
Now I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to tell you the
something about you were memorialized at Caraway Hospital because you were born there or something.
Well, you started out about being a paramedic.
Okay. Well,
wait a minute. You were born a paramedic at Caraway?
No, I was born at Caraway, and I worked on the ambulance
at Caraway
years and years and years, and the fire department for years and years and years.
Oh, you went straight from birth to working on an ambulance for years and
No,
years.
no, I went straight from birth to, elementary, toddlerhood, elementary school, middle school,
Okay,
high school,
I
then I
get
went
it
to
now.
college.
There's a lot of the story that you're leaving out. Now I understand.
Okay, do you want me to start with my first memory?
Oh Lord, we're gonna be here all night.
The very first memory I ever had was we lived in just outside of Chicago, and my grandparents pulled up in their van
Look at Kevin.
with my aunt, and I was probably about 18 months old. Yes, my first memory is about 18 months old.
Oh.
My next memory, I'm not going through all that.
Okay, so Caraway Hospital. You remember being born.
Yeah, okay. We were
So what is it like coming out of your mother's womb? What does that look like? Feel like?
don't remember that part.
Oh, okay.
So we're sitting there and we're working a code on this very extremely obese woman, and
Don't be talking about obese people on this show.
well, no, we are fluffy. We're fluffy.
Floppy. Hmm.
I'm talking about morbidly obese woman, and we're working.
Kevin and I are festively plump.
we're not morbidly obese.
We're working this code on this woman, and we finally call the code. We can't find a pulse, but the woman's still breathing.
Hmm.
She still has air movement, but we're unable to find a pulse. And the doctor said, let's call it. And I'm like, okay, we call it. So we called it. I was a student at this time. And we go back in there a little while later, and it's like there's somebody standing in the room, and the woman had no family with her.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was in the room with her, and we walked back out, and because we were like, oh, excuse us, because we were going to get her cleaned up and ready for the family to view anyway. But there was somebody standing in there. Well, the next nurse comes right in after, and there's nobody in there, and we can never find her.
Mm. So did the woman actually die or not?
She did actually die eventually.
Because if you're breathing, you've got. Here's the problem with coding somebody, because sometimes the heartbeat can be so faint.
We were even using a Doppler.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with a Doppler.
Yeah, I am. But I mean, I worked in a funeral home, so I'm there's been occasions where you'd be shipped a body, and it's like, this person's not dead, and because by the time they'd get the body to us, they've kind of recovered just a little bit,
Mhm.
And my peers back in those days would, that you get all, if you worked in a funeral home and you were young, you got all kind of crap thrown your way by your friends, if you know what I'm saying.
Correct.
But yeah, you were kind of tuned in. If you have that happen once to you, you didn't just start cutting up a body immediately. You took your time. So who told the last story? Was that Kevin or I?
It was
you.
So it was Kevin's turn again?
Yeah. And this one is going to be, this is the story that's got that picture. There's a picture of a baby and a inserted picture where there's got something wrapped around its neck. Yeah, there it is. A baby with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck 6 times arrived safely despite the dangerous entanglement. And this miracle baby is amazing, everyone. They don't call it the miracle of childbirth for no reason. Being able to hold such a sweet, small, and innocent baby in your hands is a life-changing experience. Sometimes it can be scary giving birth, though, because a lot of things can go wrong. A young mother by the name of Day had just given birth at Yishang Hospital. Day's baby had the umbilical cord wrapped around its neck not once, but 6 times. This occurrence is called nuchal cord. Recorded in 12% of pregnancies, 24 to 26 weeks, and 37% of pregnancies full term, and is usually caused when the fetus has a lot of movement in the wound. Li Hua, director of obstetrics, I don't know if I pronounced that right, said, I have been working for 23 years, and this is the first time I've seen an umbilical cord wrapped around a baby's neck like this. The umbilical cord was cut from the baby's neck, and luckily there was not a huge impact on its health from it. To find the umbilical cord wrapped around the baby's neck is not uncommon, and if it's long enough, will usually not cause problems, Lee added. Day thanks the medics and said, I'm glad that my baby was born with no problem. Day has certainly had some interesting and unique experiences during childbirth, but her child is happy and healthy, and that is what really matters. But look at that photo there.
I tell you what,
How
I first saw that, I thought it was one of those neck stretching things, you know?
Yeah, that's the umbilical cord.
Yeah.
I mean, how
Yeah.
did that kid survive? But
Yeah.
a miracle.
That is
Wow.
amazing. Okay, I do
That's,
have a public service announcement to make. MidlandUSA.com, their weather radios, if you type in the coupon code SPANN25, you will get 25% off a weather radio.
Okay. And we've had, in fact, I went up North Alabama today to pick up a pickup truck that I bought and stopped in Fultondale, and I saw that hotel that was really damaged in that recent tornado.
I saw that the other day.
You know, yeah, it's just really amazing. So anyway, let's see. Okay, where am I? We got about 30 minutes left in this show here, so let's get a few more stories in. We're going to go back to the 1900s. New Jersey, a farmer by the name of Charles Henry Durand, who barely escaped with his life, but he did so thanks to the warnings he supposedly got from his late wife. According to his story, as he rode home in a buggy, the horse pulling it suddenly stopped. Within moments, a ghostly woman in white appeared, which Durand recognized as his late wife. Both he and his horse remained frozen in fear as she whispered to him, "There is danger at home. Stay away till morning." As frightened as his horse, Durand was forced to spend hours unhitching the animal from the buggy so he could get home. By the time he arrived, it was already daylight, and Durand noticed a number of things amiss in his home. A window was open, and muddy footprints covered the floor. Durand also noticed a string stretched across his bedroom doorway. He set it off using his umbrella. It triggered a gun attached to the string, creating a booby trap to shoot anyone who entered the door. Without the warning from his wife, Durand would have been struck by the trap. And there is that one is accompanied by the newspaper article. So, believe it or not.
Wow.
So let's go back to Mr. Kevin,
To me.
the Haunted Dolls Kane.
Here's a story all the way from England about a falling tree.
The old falling tree story.
A retired woman in England could not help but count her blessings as she watched as a huge tree came crashing down onto her car, the same car she'd been about to enter. Thanks to divine intervention, she narrowly escaped death. Joyce Woodward was about to head out for the day when the phone started ringing, taking her away from the car. Just as she turned away from the car, the tree, out of nowhere, then plummeted, leaving the car a mangled mess. It just came down by itself, Joyce said, but the tree did look rotten at the bottom. If I had not had a phone call to deal with, I would have been inside that car when it fell. I think I have a guardian angel. And then the story related to that. After a nasty motorcycle accident left Kevin Deppenbrock at the bottom of a steep embankment, 105 feet below the highway, He thought for sure this was the end. No one could see him, no one could hear him, and cell phone service was non existent in the remote area. He was stuck there for 30 hours, but then a guardian angel stepped in. A car stopped in the exact spot where Deppenbrock was laying, and he mustered up the strength to yell out for help one more time. You know, God definitely had his hand over him that day, Kevin's wife said, and he had a guardian angel looking out for him. That falling tree, especially, was amazing there. Well,
So,
I guess coming out of being stuck in a ditch 105 feet below the highway is too. I'm not
so
knocking that.
I just want to give you a reminder that in our 30 minutes left, you had 2 more photographs that I've not displayed yet that are somehow connected to a story somewhere.
I think I
So,
said one. Some of those were just random. Like one was angel
okay.
wings, and the other
Yeah.
was like a drawing of an angel statue.
Angel paint is what it's called. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I wasn't missing something
Yeah.
there.
We
So
don't have to. I just if it's something to use if we want
that's
to.
cool. That's cool. So let's go back to a more recent story. We're looking at 2015, March thereof. We're going to Utah, where police officers investigated a damaged, partially submerged car in the Spanish Fork River. As they got closer, they clearly heard a young female voice cry out from the car, "Help me, we're in here." Police immediately went to work. They pulled the wreck out of the river and tipped it right side up. Inside, they found Jennifer Grosbeck and her 18-month-old daughter, Lily. Jennifer had seemingly passed hours before, so it was unlikely that she called for help. Lily was barely conscious, but still alive. The emergency personnel at the scene appreciated the disembodied assist, though they never established the source of the cry for help. As Officer Tyler Beddoes put it, "For 2 nights, I laid awake trying to figure out exactly what it could be. All I know is it was there. We all heard it. It was extra motivation."
Yeah, that's the story I shared a minute ago about the
Is that the same one?
the baby and the mother trapped in the river in the car.
Oh, okay.
I thought it
Well,
was the mother calling out, but she'd been dead on impact for hours.
yeah, okay.
So
Well,
that
we're
would
going to
explain that.
unexplainable, inexplicable. Her husband's ghost allegedly brought a woman back to life. Northumberland resident Sonia Burton suffered a severe heart attack in January of 2016. Arriving to work early that day, Burton began experiencing chest pains before she collapsed. Paramedics arrived on the scene quickly, but they failed to resuscitate her immediately. They transported her to the hospital, and the trip took a grueling 56 minutes, during which Burton was technically gone. While the paramedics scrambled to save her life, Burton says her late husband visited her. According to Burton, her husband said, "It's not your time, Sonia. Go back to the children." Then she came back to life. The paramedics who rescued her were astonished. They said no one they ever saved remained departed for as long as Burton.
Wow.
It's amazing the stories that you hear, but I want to hear the story that Kevin's about to share.
Okay. And if you want to, you can throw up that picture of the angel wings and the blue sky, and then that kind of goes with this one here. There we go. Give them something pretty to look at. All right. Jackie B believes that her guardian angel came to her aid on 2 occasions to help her avoid serious injury. According to her testimony, she actually physically felt and heard this protective force. Both encounters happened when she was a child of kindergarten age. The first experience took place at a popular sledding hill where Jackie was enjoying the day with her family. The young girl decided to try sledding down the steepest part of the hill. She closed her eyes and started down. I apparently hit someone going down and I was spinning out of control, says Jackie. I was heading for the metal guardrail and didn't know what to do. But I suddenly felt something push my chest down. I came within less than a half an inch of the rail, but did not hit it. I could have lost my nose. Jackie's second experience occurred during her birthday celebration at school. She had run across the playground to place her crown on a bench. While running back to her friends, 3 boys tripped her. The playground was filled with metal objects and wood chips. Jackie went flying and something hit her just below the eye. But I felt something pull me back when I fell, Jackie says. The teacher said that they saw me sort of fly forward and fly back at the same time. As they hurried me to the nurse's office, I heard an unfamiliar voice keep telling me, "Don't worry, I'm here. God doesn't want anything to happen to his baby." So that second time, she even had witnesses there to see her fly forward and suddenly backwards, like a force lifted her back away.
So what do you
That's
think of all
pretty
these
cool.
stories? What do you think of all these stories? Do you think they're real? Do you think this
I
really
do.
happened?
I believe in angels and demons and all that. I believe it's
Mhm.
real. It's heavenly.
It's really real. It's really real. So, June 6th, 1994, Christine Scubbish and her 3-year-old son, Nick, set out on the road from Sacramento, California to restart their lives. On the way, Scubbish fell asleep at the wheel and crashed 40 feet into an embankment below the road. She passed instantly, but her son Nick survived. I think this is one of the stories you shared. They just keep they keep changing the name. The mother died instantly and cried out for help. This is kind of getting unrealistic when the story keeps repeating itself like that. You know.
Let me
So,
ask you a question. Have you guys ever heard of these people that are in comas and they're about to pull the plugs and they miraculously wake up?
Yeah, we had one in my church, a man that's still alive today, who he had fallen going out of his house. I think he was in his 60s, and he had fallen
mhm.
going out his front door, kind of flipped midair, and his head hit the concrete step, and he hit the ground. And they rushed him to the hospital, and he was in a coma. And they kept him, I don't know how long they kept him on life support. They could not get, he didn't regain consciousness during that time. And his wife just refused to believe he was going to die. She said, "I don't think it's his time. I feel it in my heart." But finally, they encouraged her. They said, the doctor, "There's no way he's coming back." And they encouraged her to go ahead and sign for the life support. And he had a living will to do that if anything ever happened to him, because a lot of people have that.
Mhm.
And so she had them turn off the life support. She finally said, "All right, we'll go ahead." And they turned it off. And I think a few hours passed. He was breathing on his own. And all of a sudden, he woke up. By that afternoon, he was sitting up and talking to him. And the doctors could not figure that out. And to this day, he still goes to our church. Well, he did go to our church. He moved. He's in a different church now. He's still alive and tells everywhere he goes, he tells about that. He said while he was out of it, he just remembers a light and someone it felt like arms around him and something talking comfortingly to him until he woke up.
Did you know this guy in Prattville, Joy Fine?
I don't think I've heard that name before.
In fact, he and a friend of his started a church together down there. He's very active in the Prattville community. He just passed away about a week ago, 48 years old. He died of COVID.
Huh.
Yeah. So you just made me think. I don't know why I thought of that when you're telling this story for some reason. I didn't know if you knew him or not.
Uh-uh.
So that COVID is really. January was the second hardest month in Alabama since COVID came out, by the way. So, you ever been to Omaha, Nebraska?
I heard about it. Never been there though.
2016, 3 buildings, Omaha, Nebraska. These 3 buildings, like Caraway, were slated for demolition, including one, the Christian Spect building. Built in 1884, it was historically significant for being the only cast iron building in all of Nebraska. In an attempt to preserve the structure, over 1,000 people signed a petition and held a rally. Even local ghost hunting team, rural investigators of the paranormal, wanted to save the building. They tried to do so in a very unique way. They went to the building, investigated it, and claimed that its creator, Christian Spect, still resided there. According to the team, they communicated with him through yes/no questions, asking, "Do you mind if we are in the building? Do you know this building's on the verge of getting torn down?" Thanks to the efforts of the public and ghost hunters, the building was spared from destruction. Maybe we should go do that with the Caraway.
Oh yeah.
Get your ghost hunting buddies together and find out who was it. John Caraway? Was that his name?
I think it was. I don't know for sure.
Oh, you got another story for us in the last 20 minutes of this show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some. Yeah, this is the reading angel. It's remarkable how many stories of angels come out of hospital experiences. It may not be so hard to understand why when we remind ourselves that they are places of sharply focused emotions, prayers, and hope. Reader DeBay Lore entered the hospital in 1994 with acute pain from a fibroid tumor the size of a grapefruit in her uterus. The surgery was successful, but more complicated than expected, and her troubles were not over. DeBay recalls that she was in horrible pain. She had an allergic reaction to the morphine she was given, and the doctors tried to counteract it with other medications. This made a bad experience even worse. She had just had surgery, and now she was dealing with the pain of an acute drug reaction. After receiving more pain medication, she was able to sleep for a few hours. I awoke in the middle of the night. According to the wall clock, it was 2:45. I heard someone speaking and realized someone was at my bedside, she said. It was a young woman with short brown hair and wearing a white hospital staff uniform. She was sitting and reading aloud from the Bible. I said to her, "Am I all right? Why are you here with me?" The woman visiting DeBay stopped reading but did not look up. She simply said, "I was sent here to make sure you'd be all right. You are going to be fine. Now you should get some rest and go back to sleep." She began to read again, and I drifted off back to sleep. The next morning, DeBay explained the experience to her doctor, who checked and said that no staff had visited her overnight. She asked all of the nurses, and no one knew of this visitor. To this day, she says, I believe that I was visited by my guardian angel that night. She was sent to comfort me and assure me that I would be okay. Coincidentally, the time on the clock that night, 2:45 a.m., is the exact time recorded on my birth certificate showing when I was born. Oh, nice little creepy twist at the end there. Ooh.
Creepy.
I like that story. I've heard stories of ghost nurses like that before.
Yeah. So let's take a little side road here for a moment. Since we kind of touched on that subject. Do we all recognize this building here?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. That is the Caraway Hospital. Actually, it was called the Caraway Methodist Medical Center.
Yeah.
And I just thought I would look up the history of Caraway. It was founded as Caraway Infirmary in 1908 by Dr. Charles N. Caraway. It was moved in 1917 to Birmingham's Norwood neighborhood. Its facilities were segregated according to skin color for much of its history, and in one instance, the facility refused emergency treatment to James Peck, an injured white civil rights activist who had been savagely beaten for being a freedom rider. This hospital was 3 miles from St. Vincent's. It expanded in the 50s and 60s and ran into financial troubles in the 2000s, declaring bankruptcy and closing in 2008. Throughout its history, Caraway Methodist Medical Center was a pace setter. In the 80s, the facility added the area's only level 1 trauma center, 3 lifesaver helicopters, a hyperbaric oxygen therapy department, a wound care center, a laser center, the area's first sleep center, among many other groundbreaking additions. Lifesaver, the first medical helicopter service in Alabama, came about because Caraway found a lot of patients in 1978 couldn't make it to Birmingham's higher level hospitals. So by 1981, he had Lifesaver in place along with a trauma center. The helicopter program carried 30,000 patients as part of Caraway Hospital and was one of the only 5% of emergency flight programs in the entire nation that placed physicians on every flight. CN Caraway continued until the original organization was sold in bankruptcy. When you're sick, you want the administration to be as compassionate as the nurses, the caregivers, and the doctors. So the administration is not just about the bottom line dollar, Robert Caraway, grandson of C.N. Caraway, said. Dr. Charles N. Caraway, who founded the hospital in 1908 in a house in Pratt City, which is now a neighborhood of Birmingham, only had the capacity to treat 16 patients. But Caraway was an innovator in many ways. He financed a new facility by getting Birmingham businesses to agree to pay $1 a month per employee or $1.25 per family for treatment. It was managed care before managed care even had a name. In 1917, Caraway bought a lot on the corner of 17th Avenue and 25th Street in the Norwood neighborhood and moved the hospital, which came to be called the Norwood Hospital. In 1949, the hospital received $200,000 in federal money to add a nursing wing. There's a lot of amazing history about that hospital, to say the least. And I think, what do we got here? Oh, yeah, there's an interesting something to share here real quick. Right quick. Let me get back over here. Did you know all that history there, Kevin, about the hospital?
I didn't know that, or if I did, I forgot. I do know I have an old lab chair here that came from Caraway.
Is there any, have they started any demolition there? Has anything started out there at all?
I don't know.
When I drove by there a few weeks ago, the homeless community and the community that surrounds it has taken out most of the windows.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine, but I wonder if, anyway, I'm just having some wild ideas. So, you recognize that star right there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you been there?
I remember seeing that. You could see that from it. In fact, I remember years ago when it used to be lit up when we drive through there.
So, have you been there to Caraway?
Well, my mother worked there. She worked for their clinic, and
But since it's closed.
Yeah, since it's closed, our team. I wasn't with them, but my paranormal team, Scare of Alabama, went and investigated it. And in one of the hallways up there was a door at the end of the hallway it was chained, through the handle, so you couldn't open it. And they were doing a spirit box session, and all of a sudden, those doors started rattling like something was on the other side trying to force it open. Scared the crap out of them. But they said it was very creepy in there. They heard voices and weird noises and didn't find any living souls in there to
Did
attribute
they, did they find any dead souls in there?
it might have been what it was. They certainly didn't see any living creature in there that made those voices where they heard them. Your skeptical assumption would be maybe a homeless person is hiding in there. But when they checked the rooms
Mm-hmm.
where the voices were, there was nobody and nowhere where a person could hide.
Mm.
So
here I've got a couple of neat little stories to share. When I was a student, I called in on a stroke patient. She had coded and they were doing CPR. They worked for 45 minutes, but she died. They cleaned her up, called over the family to say goodbye. But by that time, the family left. She had been both brain dead and without a pulse for more than 45 minutes. Blood had filled her brain, and she was completely gray and started to swell. Suddenly, she sat up, called for her family. The nurses rushed to get monitors and equipment back on her. They started working on her again. She stabilized. Then she said goodbye to her family and promptly died a second time. Then there was this old lady that came in by an ambulance, and she was near dead. She was a DNR, do not resuscitate. So they weren't going to do much for her. She didn't have any family that they could find. The hospital was full, so we had to keep her in ER for the night. Again, she was near death. When you've seen enough people die, there's no mistaking it. She was almost there, barely responsive, pale, cool. Breasts were really irregular. Heart rate was up and down. So they just turned the lights down, kept an eye on her monitor, basically waiting for her to die. About an hour later, she's standing at the door of her room. She'd gotten up, put on all her clothes. Well, we were all like, what the? One of the nurses went to check on her, and she said she was hungry. Well, not really knowing what to make of things, we got her a chair, a bedside table, and went to the cafeteria and got a tray of food. She sat there. She ate all her food, talked with the staff a little bit. After about an hour, she told her nurse that she was tired and wanted to go back and lay down. So we helped her back in bed, and within 30 minutes, she was dead.
Wow. I had a man standing. He was on my gurney, and he was talking to us. And next thing I know, he looks at us and he says, "It was nice meeting you. I'm going now." Out.
Gone. Yep.
Gone.
Okay, who's got a story? We got a few minutes left. 9 minutes. You got another story?
Yeah, I got one. Well, I don't know. I could probably tell this in that time.
Oh, I think it's that long? Is it that long?
No, it's not that. I thought it was when I was scrolling, but it's not.
Okay. I'm going to play. You've only got 8 minutes. Kevin's got 8 minutes. Okay. 8 minutes left in the show here.
All right. I like the title. It's a question title. Beautiful, strange UFO or angel? ?
I can tell you already what the answer is.
Some researchers think there might be a connection between UFOs and angel sightings. They say the angels and heavenly figures encountered in the Bible might actually have been extraterrestrials.
Oh.
After his experience in the 1980s with the most beautiful thing he ever saw, Lewis L. might agree with that assessment. It was a Saturday morning in Mariposa, California, and Lewis had to work that day. The air was fresh from a cool rain the night before, and the morning sky was bright with a few scattered clouds. I was heading out to my car in the back parking lot of the apartment complex where I lived when I noticed someone kneeling next to my car, Lewis said. This person saw me and quickly stood up holding a crowbar. The young man was quite obviously startled by Lewis's interruption, and although Lewis sensed the boy was up to no good, it had not yet hit him what he was doing. Then Lewis looked through the passenger window of his car and saw the steering wheel column had been stripped of its cover. He realized that the young man was trying to steal his car. I asked him what the hell he was doing, Lewis recalls. He gave me a lame story about his friend's car being stolen last night and that my car looked like his friend's and so on. I didn't want to hear it. I told him I was going to call the police, which I did on my cell phone. Lewis dialed 911 and gave the dispatcher the address. He told the would-be thief that the police were on their way and warned him not to leave. The boy said he would wait for the police, but Lewis could tell he was just waiting for the right moment to make a run for it. If he did, I wasn't going to try to stop him because his adrenaline was pumping and he had that crowbar, Lewis says. As Lewis was grilling the young man, trying to detain him, he began to notice 3 rather large clouds in a single file formation that were almost overhead. Then I saw it, he says, a shiny object exiting from the first cloud and entering the next, and then coming out of that one. It was shiny like brightly polished chrome and moving at a good speed. I couldn't make out the shape. By this time, Lewis was so distracted by the UFO that the punk saw his chance and took off. That's when the object entered the last cloud. From there, it was nothing but open sky. When it emerged, my life changed, Lewis says. There, against the richness of the blue sky, was a silvery shape that seemed to have arms and legs. It was so beautiful to look at. At the same time, it had the appearance of metal. It looked like some kind of ship with a strange design. The best way I can describe it is it looked like silverware in the design of the stick man that children draw. It was huge, moving fast, and made no noise. As it sailed overhead, some of the limbs would move up and down, giving the impression of being alive, a living entity. It made a couple of rolls, reflecting the sun in every direction. Just beautiful. Oh my God, beautiful. As it started to fade away from my view, I found myself short of breath and with tears running down my cheeks. It had that much of an effect on me. I began thinking maybe that's what an angel looks like, maybe not. And that's the end of the story. What happened to the punk? I guess he ran away. Yeah, I thought he was going to say the angel whisked the punk away.
All right, folks, don't forget to look for your wishing machine. Or if you don't do that,
Wish, 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 wish.
What is your wish?
My wish is that everyone go to myhauntedolls.com and buy.
Bye. You remember, did you ever watch the Wishmaker movies?
I saw the Wishmaster about
Wishmaster, yeah.
The first one. I didn't watch the sequels, but I watched the first one. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it was. As you wish.
Have you guys ever heard of a sin eater?
A what?
A sin eater?
Sin
Yeah.
eater.
Yeah.
Let's do something about that next week.
Yeah, we should. Kevin should be an expert on that because he's been eating sin.
I just spent time talking about Jesus. He eats away his sin.
Kevin's been eating sin for a long time.
I
think he regurgitates it too.
I'm gonna wear my crucifix. I should have done that tonight. See if it has an effect on Kelvin.
Unbutton your top button.
What about my top button?
I want to see where. Yeah, look at that. He wore a cross and it's burned into his chest.
There's no cross.
All right. So next week, people, since we're going to get into sin, don't forget to bring your holy water.
Oh, Lord.
And everybody toss it over that way.
Oh, toss it on that bald head over there. Watch it sizzle.
Folks, it's been another good night. We talked about a lot of miraculous stuff, from Bigfoot miracles to babies' heads being wrapped in their own umbilical
cord.
cords, to Kevin's doppelganger,
Doppelganger.
doppelganger.
We could do
to,
stories about that in one episode.
Yeah, there's all kind of neat stories. And if you guys that are listening and watching have any special request, we don't want to hear it.
Because
we're gonna do
an evil.
We're going to do
Cast you out.
Because actually, we're going to do what we want to anyway. So screw you guys, okay?
All right, Eric Cartman.
There's one thing that, yeah. Screw you guys. I'm going home. Screw you guys. I'm going home. So if you've got any suggestions for anything, just keep it to yourself. We don't care. We're not. Nobody's paying us. Now, if you want to pay us by buying some books, then we will listen to what you want. We're not saying we'll do anything about what you want, but we'll say we'll listen. Okay.
Hey, if you want to sponsor a commercial, we'll put you a commercial out there. Got a lawn?
Yeah. We'll approve a commercial and see. We'll negotiate it. You know. And it could be all three of us doing the commercial, or Kevin can do it, or we can do it any way you want to. Catherine can stand on her head, whatever we need to do.
Catherine's not going to unbutton the top button of her shirt. If there's enough money involved, I'll do a strip show. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip that episode.
Would anybody?
I'm gonna call in sick that night.
So, is there anybody that would like to see a 66-year-old male stripper? Once in a lifetime. You'll never see this take place anywhere. No? Kevin, I didn't ask you. You're not paying anything. So,
if anybody says yes, I'll eat your soul.
Okay. So I think Carl wants us to do a commercial here. So if we were doing a commercial for Carl,
he said, "Oh no, don't do it, Dr.
All right, guys, it's been fun. It's been real, but it hadn't been real fun.
Yeah, I think it's about nap time.
Yeah. I started way before daylight this morning, and I have not slowed down a bit. So, but I would like to say one last word. Or two last words. Peace and love.
Bye-bye, abnormal Alabamians.
Oh, wait a minute. About the stripping, I get paid not to do it. So, okay, the highest bidder. I'm going to show you people how to make money by not stripping, okay?
There you go.
All right. Goodbye.
Good night.